Yeah, class of 2018. And me, nothing to mention other than a washed up hockey goaltender, but the proud parent, along with my incredible wife, Cheryl, of four kids awarded scholarships, and three of them at one point or currently on the Canadian national rowing team. Cheryl and I have been blessed to travel the world watching our kids not only row, but establish long lasting relationships with not only team members from Canada, but parents and friends all around the world. And we even got a son in law out of this deal, too, out in Texas. So I think we've plugged the entire family. With all that being said, good morning, Morgan.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to get the races started off. It's a much calmer day, a little bit of rain, but the wind has really died down, so we hope for some fast races.
Looks like we've got an exciting day of racing ahead of us. And Morgan, it's raining. What does that really mean for the rowers right now?
Often when it's raining, it's a little calmer, so we're seeing that with a lot less wind, but sometimes it can make your handle grip slippery and get a little more nerve-wracking off the start. As you can see here, there's been a little bit of bobbles and a bit of a course correction in lane 1. But the races are off, and let's see what's going on here.
Okay, so we should introduce the participants. We got the Alan Young in lane 1, Olivier Belfont in lane 2, Alexis Willette in 3, Oliver Brennan in 4, Chad Buck in 5, and Dominic Rapone from St. Catharines in lane 6. Looks like a fairly even start.
Yeah, at this point of the race, I think the rowers are settling into their rhythm.
Crews are invited onto the course. Please stay in your lane.
Sounds like there's a course correction there. Maybe it is a little windier up at the top than what we see here at the 1,000-meter mark. It's definitely tricky conditions with steering the single. It's all power steering, so when the crosswind is blowing you to one side or the other, you essentially just have to pull harder with the one hand, and there's no rudder or anything to help you assist.
So this is the final, the H final for the men's single. And as Morgan said, we're located at the 1,000-meter mark. And we'll try and give you as accurate depiction of where the participants are. It's always difficult with the angle.
Well, they're crossing the 500-meter marker now, and it looks like a pretty tight race.
Engine trouble.
Especially lanes 4, 5, and 6 look like they're within a length of each other. A lot of these athletes are U19 and under 23 level, so they're a bit younger, maybe newer to the stage, and this is really good racing experience having this side-by-side, 6 boats across. As rowers, we don't have that many chances to race, so any opportunity that you can get to the start line and have competitive racing like this is really valuable experience.
Ridley Winterbottom, lane 4. Peterborough, lane 5. St. Catharines, Addison,
Still a tight race with all 6 boats across here. Let's see if someone could nudge their bow ball out in front.
And just to recap, Morgan, the format we had time trials on Friday, and then heats and or semis on Saturday, and here we are with the finals on Sunday. So there's been a fair bit of racing for all the participants. I think we've got like over 131 registrants for this weekend, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, for the men's singles, they had the most entries with 50. So it was a very competitive field this year, and great to see lots of boats across.
4 minutes
Looks like our leader is in lane 6. That Dominic Rapone, 1,000-meter mark. But really, it's still anybody's race.
At this point, crossing the 1,000-meter mark, all the athletes are starting to get pretty tired, and it's very mentally challenging, especially in the single, because you just have to keep pushing and you have no one talking to you or no one kind of holding you accountable. So it's a really big mental challenge at this point of the race in the third 5.
And here they come, not a lot to choose from still. But again, this is spoken from a guy who's never rode a stroke. So.
Looks like on our far right side, lane 5 is starting to push out ahead, with lane 4 closely behind. Oh, sorry, I mean lane 2 had the lanes backwards. Lane 2 is out in front, and lane 3 is closely behind. Everyone's staying in contact here, pushing right into the end. This is great to see a competitive field.
Medals are still up for grabs here, it looks like.
All right, they're entering the last 5. Let's see what they have to lay down. Often their stroke rates are going to start to increase at this point as they're getting ready for the sprint. And if you're new to rowing, stroke rate is the amount of strokes you take per minute, and it really varies on the boat class. The bigger the boat class, you tend to have a higher stroke rate, where a single could, depending on your skill and the weather, has a huge impact. You might be anywhere between a 30 to a 34, and in comparison to an 8s race, you're going to be at a 38 to a 40. So the singles have a lot less strokes, but that's because you're the only one moving the boat and you don't have any help.
Crowd's bringing them in. Lane 2. Olivier Bellefonte.
All right, they're ending the last 250 with the red buoys here.
Just a few more strokes to go.
Oh, what a great push right to the end.
Come on, kid, let's go! Go!
Okay, that's a good start. First race of the day.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of fast races today, so it's great they set the tone for the day.
And the official results should be posted on the Rowing Canada website, of course, in the morning.
But you'll find it first on the Regatta Central
Ah.
website.
Thank you, Morgan. So we're off to race number 2, the men's G final. Aidan Jerfley in lane 1, Aidan McPhail in 2, Adam Martin's Coop in 3, Luke Winterbottom in 4, Isaac Smith in 5, and Levi Patterson in 6. So it looked like a clean start, and there we are already through the 500 meters. We're running about, 8-minute staggers today, Morgan, I think, in between races?
Yes, they're keeping the staggers pretty close just because the wind is supposed to pick up throughout the day. So we want to get the most fair and best conditions as possible. Since rowing's an outdoor sport, it's really hard to control all of the variables. So we try to mitigate that as much as possible to ensure fair racing for the competitors. Again, this looks like a pretty close race.
Lane 1.
It looks like lane 4, Luke Winterbottom, is pushing his bow out in front. He is from Ridley College, so a local athlete, and I'm sure he has lots of local family and friends able to cheer him on since St. Catharines is just a short drive away.
Morgan, can you hear them cheering when you're rowing, or are you so focused?
Depends how hard the race is. But often, once you kind of start to hear all the cheers, you know you're getting close to the finish line. So it's always extra motivating, and it's really great to have fans and family and friends out here supporting you whenever you have the chance to.
So just through 1,000 meters. And Luke Winterbottom's still in the lead. And again, this is the G final.
A lot of these athletes, again, are U19 and U23 athletes, so they might be newer to the scene. Some of them could have just started rowing in the last couple of years. So this is great racing experience that they're able to compete at the National Rowing Championships.
I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of these aspire to national level, U23, U19, all over the world.
Yeah, since the World Championships were in St. Catharines this past summer, we actually have a lot of athletes who represented Canada that are here this weekend. So throughout the races today, we'll try to mention as many of them as possible. Because it was great to see so many Canadian athletes being able to race at home, because that's the first time it's happened in a very long time, and it's very special to represent your country, and it's very cool to see so many of them here today. Now it looks like there's a close race between lanes 3 and 5 for second. As they're crossing the 1,500 meter mark in the last quarter of the race now. Looks like lane 6 isn't giving up and really trying to make a big push.
Sporting that stylish bucket hat.
Stop. 2 out. 3 out.
That was Levi from the St. Catharines Rowing Club as well. We've still got those ducks interested in watching this race.
Yeah, sometimes they can add an extra obstacle when you have ducks or geese on the course. You really hope for them not to get hit or injured, but they don't necessarily know how to get it out of the way quick enough.
They are ducks after all.
All right, they're entering the last 250. Let's see what sprints they have to show us. All right, you can hear the cheers now, giving the athletes the last big push to give it their all right to the very end. The last 10 strokes or so here. The legs are burning. You feel like you can't give anything else.
It's like lanes 4, 3, and 5 are our top 3. So
On a tight race.
Winterbottom, Ada Martins-Koop, and Isaac Smith. Good job. So while we're waiting for the next race to start, just wanted to recognize all the people that contribute to make this happen, starting right with the city of Welland, who are hosting this event. The fantastic crew at Niagara College that's providing the coverage for this live stream racing and trying their best to make us look and sound good today. So really appreciate that. We've got Empty Bellies, a great watering hole that we've all been to from the area. But anyway, let's get back to our next race.
All right, final F. Just pushed off the starting gates, and you'll see a little starting replay here. Looks like a clean start from everyone, all 6 lanes across.
So our start list is Robin Lanthier in lane 1, Marcus Santoro in 2, Leo Biancanello in 3, Remo Kramer in 4, Henry McLaren in 5, and Andrew Schrumpf in 6.
Gloves that you can wear to protect your hands from the water. So I'm told that in your bag you will find neoprene gloves that could help with the water. Lane 1, did you hear me? Awesome, thanks.
All right, close race here. It looks like lane 2 might just be getting their bow ball out in front. From South Niagara, another local guy. I'm assuming that they train on this lake as their home course, so we got home course advantage here.
Looks like the rain intensity's picking up a little bit, Morgan. But don't worry about us, we're dry.
As the rain gets a little heavier, it can add a few challenges to rowers. One, it can fill the boat up with more water and just makes it a lot more heavier and harder to move, and also can affect your grip. The oars can be a little more slippery and harder to have control, which is especially hard in a sculling boat, as there's so much technique and finesse that is required by the hands. So when that is impaired by lots of rain, it can just add an extra level of difficulty. All right, lane 5 is out in front.
And that's Henry McLaren from the Montreal Rowing Club.
Crossing the halfway point now.
Wow, it's really coming down now.
It's also really difficult during the warm-up to stay warm when it's raining this much, which is another level of difficulty that the rowers have to overcome. It's a long way from the end of the course where you push off the dock to get to the front. I think it's about 3.5 K. I haven't rowed it in a while, so my margin's probably a little off, but it's quite a far ways up to the top of the course to even just race. Henry in lane 5 looks very in control, keeping his lead out in front, but it looks like from lane 2, Marcus Santoro is making a push. It's always a little hard with the angle until you can see straight on. It's very deceptive until you can see the bow ball straight ahead of you. So there's a tight race between the Kingston in lane 3 and lane 2 on the far right side.
$500 to go.
Looks like the athlete from Queens, Andrew, is making a push, trying to get his bow ball into second place. Another thing about the rain, when you're trying to bring the rate up, it's that much harder to have that grip as you're trying to move your hands faster and faster on the recovery and getting your blades in. So you can see on the screen how much rain is coming down and how fast. So you can imagine just the level of difficulty and technique that requires to be able to have control of your blades in your boat when you're giving your maximal effort. You can't even think straight, but you have to make sure that you're not messing up those very little things that essentially could have you make you have a bad stroke, a bobble, hit a buoy, and it very much could change the race on what's happening at that point. Anything can happen in rowing, so the race isn't over till it's over.
Here they come.
All right, they're in the last 250 now. Bringing that stroke rate up and bringing some last maximum strokes.
Looks like McLaren in lane 5 hanging on this F final. We got a full racing card this morning into the early afternoon. I think we're looking at about 25 races.
And at this point, it's important to note that this would be some of the athletes' fourth race in 3 days, which is a lot of racing on the legs, and it's it can be tough in the final to everything, all the marbles matter for this one, but you've already your tank can be pretty empty at this point, so it's very admirable to see the athletes push right to the end and show what they can do at this National Rowing Championships.
So it looks like Henry McLaren at 8:04 finished first, and then Schromp second, and Biancanello third, followed by Santoro, Kramer, and Lamb.
Next up, we have Final E for the men's singles. Here's another start replay. Looking like they have really high stroke rate coming out of the starting gates. Really trying to get that boat up to speed, getting to surge, lift out of the water.
So our start list, Morgan, in the E final here, we got in lane 1, Andrew Concannon from the Don Rowing Club, Simon Oxley from, I believe that's Team New Brunswick, Adonis Pedersen from Alberta, Kylan Mells Williams from University of Western Ontario in lane 4, Ayub Sabri from Montreal in lane 5, and Patrice Lagare in lane 6 from Montreal as well. So a shout out to all friends and family that are tuning in today, and as far away as Lincoln, Massachusetts. I know there's a family watching, cheering these Canadian racers on. Thank you very much for that.
Looks like Adonis from lane 3 is out ahead. But it's still a very close race, so anything can happen. Looks like there's 5 boats out all within a boat length. Looks like lane 5 is making a move here. Let's see if they're gonna get their bow ball out in front.
So how hard is it to come from behind, Morgan?
It definitely adds an extra level of difficulty. It's always easy racing from the front because you're nice and loose and you feel like you have control, but anything can happen, and I think when you come from behind, it actually shows a lot more mental resilience and strength, that you're able to stay in it, stay committed to your rhythm, and that you just have to almost be patient in a way. It definitely can happen, but it's just another level of difficulty. And it's also important to note that everyone has different strengths in the 2,000 meter race. So someone could be really fast out of the start, have a great start, but maybe not as much of a middle section, whereas an athlete who maybe is more aerobic and they won't have as much power off the start, but they're really able to get into a really fast and consistent speed throughout the middle of race, and that's where it can get really competitive regardless from if you're a rower that is more power-based or aerobic based athletes.
Wow, that's interesting.
And that's the one neat thing about the 2,000 meter racing, is that there's you can have a lot of different strengths and weaknesses in the whole course, and it can really exemplify what you are good and bad at, which is the beauty of rowing and racing. is that it can really show your strengths but also your flaws, and that's why it takes many, many years to master this sport. And you're never perfect. You're always striving for perfection, but no one ever really gets there.
So it looks like we've got lanes 4 and 5. Kylan Miles Williams and Ayub Sabri in the lead at the 1500 mark. And the rain continues to fall. Ducks are loving it.
Still looking at like a tight race here between lanes 4 and 5. And then another race on the side, lanes 1, 2, and 3 all look pretty close together. So you kind of have two different races going on. They're in the last 250 here, as you can see the red buoys. This point of the race, you feel like you're so close to the finish line, but also it feels so far away. You're counting down the strokes, just trying to push the legs as hard as possible. It's like lane 5 is up by almost a whole length, crossing the finish line now.
So that's Ayub Sabri first, and Miles Williams second, and lane 3. Adonis Pedersen from Alberta, she third.
Here you can see the times.
A little bit faster, under 8 minutes. Sabri, Miles Williams, Pedersen, Lajare, Oxley, and Concannon wrapping up the men's final.
Next up, we have final D for the men's singles.
So in lane 1, we've got Lucas Riddle from Notre Dame, Jacob Lafaro from Montreal in lane 2, Carson Roberts from Alberta in 3, Robert Davis also from Alberta in 4, Alexei Lupin from Kelowna in 5, and Raphael Kaiser from Montreal in 6.
Here's another start replay. Looks like lane 6 has a really high stroke rate getting out of the starting gates. He was the closest one to the screen on our side.
So what rate would they target?
It really depends, but I think probably around a rate 40, but you can only hold that for maybe 15, 20 strokes, and then by the time you get to around the 200, 250, you really want to stride out into a more sustainable rhythm. But it's important to have those high strokes to get the boat out of the water and up to speed so it can just keep surging on top. But by the time you get to the 250, 300 meter mark, you really want to find your base pace, something that's sustainable. Otherwise, you will do the classic fly and die. And everyone's done one of those at one point, and they hurt and are not pretty. So it takes a lot of practice to know how to pace yourself, because if anyone can do 500 meters, and it's really easy to go hard, but then there's still 3/4 of a race after that. So it's it's a big learning to know how to pace yourself, because you also get really excited, or you can be really nervous off the start. So that can also just increase your stroke rate with the nerves and jitters. So it's a lot of practice and learning how to be very calm and confident into allowing yourself to get to your base pace and not just holding it at a really high stroke rate for too long. Looks like 5 boats across here. The Montreal athlete, Raphael, is ahead. He's broken out into having open water. Going into the second half of the race now.
Would you consider this water pretty calm, Morgan?
Yes, but it's always really deceptive. I think from what a rower can feel is different than the view and perception. Sometimes you can't actually see how gusty it is, and the water might not be very disturbed, but it can sometimes create a bit of a wind tunnel, and you can feel a really big headwind. But it does look a lot better than the past 2 days, so we're grateful for that, even though it's raining. So, you know, hoping for some fast, fair races today.
I guess other than lightning, you just continue on, right? It's
The show must go on.
the show. Let's go. Yeah.
No, but if it does get really windy to the point that's unsafe for the rowers, there are a few contingency plans in place where they will either delay the racing, consolidate the timing, or they will reseed the lanes if they deem it to be unfair. But that usually only happens if there's a crosswind happening from one side of the course, so it creates an advantage for some lanes compared to others. So often they'll reseed the lanes where in a fair course they tend to put the winners from the semifinals, the previous semifinals, in lanes 3 and 4. But as you can see here from the Montreal athlete, the lane doesn't necessarily mean everything. He's gone out ahead and he's on an outside lane.
Nice, Alex!
And we're through 1,500, 500 to go.
Go, Alex! 500 to go! Here we go!
At this point of the race, you're trying to make another move, a big push right before the finish, really trying to dig deep here and set yourself up so you can have a really strong finish. So that might be thinking about something about your technique, trying to stay relaxed, so then you can in turn push harder with your legs. want to note that Lucas, he competed at the Junior Worlds in the men's 4 this summer, and that was at St. Catharines, which was a really amazing for Canada to host World Championships and it just be in our backyard. I'm sure he had lots of family and friends able to support him, so it's great to see junior rowers representing Canada and getting a feel for what it's like to be on the world stage.
And Lucas is in lane 1 and attends E.L. Crosley, so just not far from here. See if he can use this to his advantage to make him come back. Looks like we've got Rafael Kaiser taking the win.
All right, next we have the final C for the men's singles, and after that it will be a break for the men's singles and flip to women's singles as the AB finals will be happening later in the day. So right now they're just trying to get through all of the finals from C down to G, and then the AB and finals will be happening later on this afternoon.
So lots of exciting racing on our way here. Okay, so for start list for the C final, we got in lane 1 Tom Stender from Nova Scotia, Jack Harris in 2 from Rowing BC, Cole Carter, and then 3 from the Kingston Rowing Club, Griffin Salmon from Alberta Rowing in 4, Jack Moyer from the Notre Dame Rowing Club in 5, and Calvin Pally from Saskatchewan in 6.
Griffin was another athlete who competed at the Mega Worlds in St. Catharines this past summer. He competed in the junior men's double and placed 19th overall. So he has lots of sculling experience, and let's see what he can do today. The rowers are probably closely approaching the first 500-meter mark, settling into their rhythm, trying to make moves off each other. Also, a lot can change in a small boat race. Sometimes in the bigger boats, it's hard once an 8 gets out ahead. It's really a lot harder to come back, where in smaller boats like singles and pairs, it's easier. Well, it still takes lots of work and tactics, but you can often make up a margin a little easier in a small boat race. So we can see lots of placements changing here. It's hard to see who's out in front.
That is one of the challenges of rowing. There's so many times I've watched a race and thought a certain boat was way ahead, and then either you had the wrong lane or just didn't have the angle and felt rather foolish. But hey, that's okay.
Yeah, the angle is very deceptive. I mean, rowing isn't the most spectator-friendly sport, but that's why it's great to have this opportunity where Niagara College is filming it, and you're able to actually get to see the race, especially if you're not from around here. It adds a whole nother layer of excitement, able to follow rowing and see your friends or family get to compete at the highest level.
Speaking of, Niagara College has got, looking here on our main screen, 8 cameras for tracking these races, and the poetry in motion, how they're kind of just synchronizing everything for our benefit and for you viewers at home. So here we go. What do we got here happening here? We got lane 6.
From Saskatchewan. Looks like he's out ahead. It's great to have a lot of athletes coming from all over the country. This is Calvin. He made the trek all the way from Saskatchewan. And then it looks like still a tight race between lanes 2, 3, and 4. I think lane 2, Jack is in second place here. But no one's out of it.
So Morgan, silly question. How did they steer the boat?
Well, not a silly question, Pat. In a single, it's all pressure steering. So when the wind is blowing you to one side or the other, you basically just have to put more force through your right or left hand, which would be your starboard or port side. So it can be very challenging when the wind picks up. Adds for an extra level of difficulty compared to the sweep boats, which we'll get into later. They have a rudder that steers the boats, and that you would steer with your foot, which is very challenging as well.
Mm-hmm. So again, this looks fairly even to my untrained eye.
Lane 1 actually might be up ahead. It's again hard to see with the angle.
That would be Tom Stender from Nova Scotia. Again, this is the men's C final and single.
Well, as we get a straight on view, it still looks like Calvin from Sask is up ahead by open water. And then it's a tight race with the other 5 boats all having overlap. So it's anyone's race here to make a move going into the last 5. I think lane 5's got some momentum. That was Jack from Notre Dame, so another local athlete from the area. So I'm sure he has lots of family and friends cheering him on today. They're approaching the red buoys. The ducks are still on the course, but a few lanes over.
And the red buoys tell us there's, what, 250 meters to go?
Yes, that's correct.
See, I'm starting.
Yeah. The athlete from Nova Scotia looks very calm. Lots of clean strokes. It's easy in the last 250 to get really messy because you're just trying to give everything you have left and have your max power output. So it takes a lot of skill to be able to look relaxed when you're going as hard as possible in the last 200 meters. Cole from Kingston has brought his stroke grade up. He's having a really tight race with
So between
Jack.
6. Oh, couldn't quite make out.
It was a close finish.
Yeah. Didn't quite have the angle to see that, but I'm sure we'll have the results shortly.
So you can see the athletes are just gassed at this point. Your legs and feet just hurt so much. They're filling up with so much lactic acid. Your lungs are burning, especially when it's cold out. I find that your lungs and throat just feels awful at the end of the race. So a lot of respect to the rowers. It's a very unique sport in the sense that it doesn't matter what place you came, you all feel exhausted and dead by the end.
So here are the results. Calvin Pally held on to win by just over a second over Tom Stender in lane 1. Cole Carter finished third, just nosing out Jack Harris, who was just like a third of a second ahead of Griffin Salmon, fourth, finished fifth, and then Jack Moyer a close sixth. So a really entertaining and a close race, which is great to see.
So that wraps up the men's singles for now until they come back around 10:56. The B final will take place. So now we move on to the women's singles, and it will be the G final.
So we're gonna have
we have a bit of a break here. It's not starting for 7 minutes, so you can have time to fill up your coffee, grab a snack, a little bathroom break while we have a little break here and the women's singles get set up in the starting gates here.
grab a Northern coffee, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Technology. We place students at the center of all that we do. We are Niagara College.
Niagara College vault.
Three minutes. 2 minutes.
One out. One out. Stop. 2 out.
Yep.
Stop. 3 out.
All right, we're back. Just waiting the start of the 10:04 race, the women's single. And again, for those of you that are just tuning in again, my name's Ted Ross. I'm here with my daughter, Morgan Ross, and we're commentating for today's finals of the 2024 Rowing Canada National Championships.
Stop.
Up on the screen, you see the start list for our upcoming race. We got Ava Semenuk from the Argonaut Rowing Club, Heidi Wall in lane 2 from Saskatchewan, Heather Clark in 3 from Rowe, Nova Scotia. In 4, we got Pippa Soika Rosendahl from St. Catharines. And in 5, also from St. Catharines, Sarah Mills. And in lane 6, we've got Emily Lindquist all the way from Montreal. So this will be the ladies' women's G final. And they're about ready to start.
Good time to thank all the volunteers and the boat holders, especially on a day like today when it's rainy and windy. It's a tough and thankless job, so thank you to all the volunteers, the umpires, anyone helping out to get this weekend for the athletes to have this racing opportunity. We appreciate you all very, very much.
It's amazing when you're behind the scenes, like we are. All the helping hands that go into this to make an event successful, representing Rowing Canada and the city of Welland so well. So thank you again, as Morgan expressed.
All right, the race is off.
So it looks like the rain has settled down. It's a little bit clearer, but
hopefully the wind hasn't started to pick up. It's definitely supposed to pick up throughout the day, so we're trying to get in the races this morning as quick as possible, and that's why we've shortened some of the breaks.
Women's single final F. You're invited onto the course.
So a lot of these athletes, they're all U19 and U23, so they might be newer to the rowing world, and this is always a great opportunity to see where you stack up regardless of how long you've been rowing, and it's nice to get a gauge on where you're at, what your strengths and weaknesses are. So we're very lucky to have the National Rowing Championships happening this weekend.
And again, Morgan, the women's list, there were 43 entries initially that started on Friday with the time trials, and then whittled down to some heats and semis yesterday, and here we are with their respective finals. So 43, that's quite a representation across the country, which is great to see, and of all ages as well, from U19 right through to the senior team.
This will probably be the last race of the season for many of the athletes before all the lakes and rivers begin to freeze. So we really hope that they can have their best performance before they go into dryland training and work on what they need to do for the next season and the next time that they come back here to make a step up. So right now we have, looks like a close race still. Can't really see who's out ahead.
Northern Rowan Wallace, 5. Saskatchewan Rowan Peterson, now age 6, 5 minutes.
It's hard with the angle, but I think lane 2, Heidi is out in front.
That's Heidi Wall from Saskatchewan. Got a lot of U19s in this race.
They're starting to spread out a little bit now. Heidi's really starting to differentiate herself from the rest of the fields. We'll see if Heather from Nova Scotia can close the gap. Anything can happen, especially in the middle of the race. You can make a couple big moves and all of a sudden you have overlap and then you're in contention. So at this point of the race, the athletes are starting to feel their legs just beyond fire, really starting to get tired, but you're trying to think about your technique and ways to keep the same power output without essentially trying any harder. So you're working on your efficiency at this point. And it does look like that, where was that lane?
Lane 2.
Lane 3 has closed the gap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That would be Heather Clark from Nova Scotia.
Lane 4 from St. Catharines is also still in it and has a fellow teammate. Lane 5 is also from St. Catharines. So great to see a lot of local athletes being able to race here this weekend.
I would expect we'd see a lot of these athletes being with Canadian universities or even American university teams in the near future if they're not there shortly.
Yes, there's lots of potential up and coming Rowing Canada athletes. So hopefully they stick with it, keep on improving, and their future is bright. Still a close race between Heather and Heidi up front. I think they've maintained the same gap. There's just a little bit of open water. We'll see if Heather is able to make a move and be a contender to win this G final.
Yeah, it looks like mostly a 2-boat race for the top 2 spots, Morgan.
Looks like Heidi's stroke rate is just slightly higher, but we'll see if Heather picks it up. Oh, from this angle, there's now overlap. Entering the last 500. Wow, they have quite the gap ahead of the other athletes. So we have 2 separate races going on here. In the front of our screen here is Emily from Montreal.
Looks like Pippa Soika-Rosendahl from St. Catharines is in 3rd right now in lane 4.
The athletes are almost entering the last 250, and it looks to be pretty calm, but it's always a little more deceiving until you're out there. So we'll have to get some reviews from the athletes who have raced just how the rowing conditions really are. a close-up on Heidi from Saskatchewan, a U19 rower. And Heather, who you see now, is also an under 19 rower.
Go Nova Scotia! Finish it out!
Coming to their last few strokes here. Legs are burning, you can barely feel like you can't hold on to the oar anymore.
Hard, Jen, you're almost done!
And it looks like Heidi's gonna hold on to take this G final.
Yes, and Heather pushed her right to the end.
Awesome job!
It's great to hear the support of the fans in the background, urging their competitor, or their family, or
And then Pippa for third. You can see the athletes are just exhausted, just gave it their all. 2,000 meters down the course.
So while we're waiting the results, just wanted to thank again some of our sponsors like the Hornby Organic Group, which provided the energy bars for the athletes to enjoy and help fuel their racing to the high levels that they're performing at today. That's really appreciated. Best Western Rose City Suites. We know lots of the regatta participants and administrators are staying there as well, athletes, umpires, coaches. So here are the results. Heidi Wall in 8:48. First, Heather in second, Pippa in third, Emily Lindquist in fourth, just ahead of Sarah Mills in fifth, and Ava Semeniuk in sixth from the Argonaut Club. So good showing to start the women's portion of the singles.
And then next up, we'll have the F final.
All right, so we've got Becca Zabricki from Manitoba in lane 1. In lane 2, Emily Martin-Scoop from Saskatchewan. In lane 3, Sophia Wolfenberg from Alberta. In 4, Kayla Pierce from the Avaron Lachine program. In lane 5, Heidi Wallen from Alberta. And in 6 from Saskatchewan, Jinger Pedersen Mells. So
here's a start replay.
So Morgan, so far this morning we've seen clean starts. What could happen for a restart?
A few different things. If you jump the start, try to anticipate, and if the umpire were to catch that, you would. I'm not entirely sure on the rules whether you get a yellow or a red card. I can't quite remember. I've never been an umpire, so we'd have to call in them for for some support on that question. But a few other things could be if it's really windy and it's hard for the boat holders to keep the rowers in their lane, to keep the bows straight ahead, that could cause for some difficulty right off the start.
What if they had like an equipment malfunction?
That used to be a rule in the first 100 meters that you would be able to protest the start, but I believe they've taken that out. But once again, I would have to call in an umpire to fact check me on that one.
Fair enough.
But if equipment issues happen during the warm-up, you are able to tell the umpire, and they will delay the race if they're not able to fix your bow on water. So they're very accommodating to make sure that you can have a fair race and get your shot to row down the course.
It's one thing I'll have to say about rowing. It's one of the most sportsmanlike competitions that I've ever witnessed. Everybody is respectful of each other. They cheer each other on. They acknowledge each other at the end. It's all about a fair race, which I respect that. That's commendable.
It looks like lane 2, Emily from Saskatchewan, and lane 4, Kayla, are out ahead. And then it looks like the next 4 boats are straight across, all within a length of each other. And it looks like the rain has came back.
Yeah, here it
So
goes.
that adds some more difficulty for the rowers with holding onto their oars, being able to have a good firm grip on the oars, especially when you're going as hard as possible. So it looks like Kayla is out ahead by about a length over Emily, going into the last 500 now. Oh, and another Saskatchewan rower. Ginger's just behind with Heidi from Alberta. It's like places 2 through 4 could be anyone's game or anyone's race.
It's unfortunate it's raining hard, but I guess it's just the way it's fair for everybody now. Look at it.
Wow, look at that rain. That looks like it could hurt you. So boats are definitely filling up with water as well, which makes it harder now that you have more water equals more volume and weight. So you have that much more to carry down the course. But everyone's dealing with the rain, so you just kind of have to overcome it, fight through adversity, and get to the finish line.
Well said. And for those of you that are concerned, we're nice and dry in the control truck here.
All right, approaching the last 250.
Crowd's bringing them in.
Long strokes through the water, pushing their legs down as hard as possible in those last few strokes.
Looks like Kayla's just about got this wrapped up. Kayla Pierce. Is that lane 4? Yes.
Yes. And then I think Emily will take second place. Let's see who the race for third. Wow, it's a close one, all within a length.
Too close for me to call.
Very good effort from all the rowers to see where they stand in this 2024 season.
Again, the exhaustion you can see. So we got the results. Kayla Pierce first at 8:55, narrowly beating Emily Martins-Koop. Second, Heidi Wallen in third. Becca Zabricki in fourth. Sophia Wolfenberg in fifth. And Ginger Peterson-Mells in sixth. Closely contested. So another a great race.
Next up, we have the E-final.
Okay. So in lane 1, Kennedy Bartel from St. Catharines. In lane 2, McKenna Kubica from Peterborough. In 3, Sarah Bertolescu from the Averon Laval Rowing Club. In lane 4, Alice Telefer. And in lane 5, Reagan Ham. And in lane 6, Catherine Nazar from Manitoba. So again, a good cross-section of competitors right from St. Catharines to Manitoba and in between.
Here we can see their start. Looks like the wind's picking up in that first 500. Rowers are getting their high strokes in before they settle out, and after the first 250, getting onto their base pace here. It's important for the start to have high strokes just to get the boat up to speed, getting the boat surging out of the water, to set you up to be able to get into your sustainable rhythm for the rest of the race. Starts can be really fun, but they're also very hard in the single with the balance, and you're the only one getting the boat out of the water. It looks like McKenna from Peterborough is setting her bow ball out in front, and it looks too close to call who's in second. We got a tight race on the left side of the screen from lanes 3 to 6, and I think lane 1 has pushed herself out into second place, and that's Kennedy from St. Catharines. Now we're getting a more head-on view. And it looks places 2 through 6 are all within a length of each other. Let's see who can really differentiate themselves heading into the second half of this race.
So Morgan, you know how I love food. What would a lot of these athletes have had this morning? Lumberjack breakfast or just something?
It's very much a personal preference. Some athletes are totally fine to have a big meal, but I think the most common for rowers is oatmeal, toast. It's something light that your stomach can handle. You usually try not to have anything new, out of the ordinary. You stick to your normal things. As rowers, probably the biggest thing on your grocery list are bananas. Everyone loves bananas. They're easy on the stomach, a really good carb source because you want to make sure you have enough carbs and protein to fuel you for the day, and sometimes it can be a bit hard to eat in the mornings, especially if there's nerves. There's a lot kind of going on in the athlete's mind while getting ready for racing, so you really have to take that into consideration on what you're eating the morning of.
Interesting.
It's especially hard if you have 2 races in the day, like yesterday when they had their heats and semis, having to fuel in between those races to replenish everything from that morning race, and then have enough fuel for the following race and get ready for the next day. So there's a lot of strategy, planning involved, but that's why parents are great for feeding everyone. And
well, we were fortunate to have 3 rowers stay with us this week, and the amount they consume is incredible. I thought I could eat, but now I'm not in their league. But then you look at how much they exert and all the training and prep. I get it.
And rowing's one of those sports that after a 6 to 8 minute race, you can win or lose by, a centimeter. So every little bit counts, and that's why rowers tend to be so detail oriented, because every little thing is make or break when you come down to those close races, and you want to know that you did everything in your control that you're able to do to put yourself in the best position to perform and have your best race.
So here we go with 500 to go. Looks like lanes 2 and 6 and 4 are top 3. But that could change. See the finish tower in the background. Morgan, how much are you looking around when you're in the lead?
Well, one of the fortunate things when you're in the lead, you can often just see people in your peripheral and not have to look out of the boat, because that's one of the biggest things. You don't want to look on the boat, and it's a big balance between being internal and external. You want to have your best race, but at the same time, you don't want to just let the race go and someone be behind you, or sometimes if you're in the middle and you get that extra gear, knowing that you're still in contention and you're still in the race. So it's a really hard balance between being the whole internal and external aspect of racing, especially in the single. But here they are crossing the 250 buoys.
That lane 2, still hanging on.
From Peterborough.
McKenna Kubica.
You can hear her family and friends cheering her on, getting her to that finish line. It's great to have so many supporters here this weekend, even when the weather isn't great.
And here they come.
In their last few strokes now, who's going to get second? Oh, from Manitoba. That'd be Catherine. And
Is that lane 4?
Alice from Knowlton got third.
And here we've got the results. McKenna Kubica finishing first at 8:49, followed by Catherine Lazar, and then Alice Delfer from the Knowlton Club. And in fourth, Sarah Bertolescu, followed by Reagan Ham of St. Catharines and Kennedy Bartel of St. Catharines.
Next up, we have the D final for the women's singles.
So in lane 1, we've got Clara Kernan from the Calgary, the Averon Laval Rowing Club. In lane 2, Orla Bailey from Alberta. In 3, Mary Cote Marchalla from Quebec. In 4, Chloe Fortin from Quebec. In 5, Ella Rose Duval from Montreal. And then lane 6, local, Lila Lane from St. Catharines.
All right, here's another start replay for our D final. Lots of high strokes happening here.
Now the rain's let up momentarily.
Now striding out into their base pace here, so their rate will drop probably to around a 30, 32. Every rower is different depending on their physiology, their size, their technical ability.
Looks like we've got at least 5 people from this race that are U19, so a lot of youth here, a lot of the future potentially here for Rowing Canada.
Looks like Mary from Quebec is out in the lead here, and then a tight race for second. Lanes 2 and 3 following closely behind first. Really trying to keep pushing, closing the gap here. So at this point of the race, you're probably thinking about some technical aspects to try to close that gap, since you're already going as hard as possible. So how can you be a little bit more efficient? How can you get that your boat surging that one more inch? So every stroke, if you can get one more inch farther, really adds up in a 2,000 meter race. So they're in the second half of the race now, trying to stay loose and relaxed.
So Morgan, we've got the halfway mark here. Do you normally have a race plan as a single, or do you kind of go by how you're feeling and what you're up against?
I would say generally yes, but I think it's a very personal, on a personal basis on how every athlete approaches it differently. I know for myself, I try to keep it simple, but you want to have certain technical cues throughout the race to try to maximize your performance and what you're and how you do. So I'm sure a lot of these athletes have cues from their coaches that they're thinking about at different points of the race, especially when you're tired. So the first half of the race, you might not have as much of those calls, race plan. It's more so in the second half when you're starting to get tired, so you're more fatigued, and your technique starts to fall off a little bit. You go back to the fundamentals that your coaches really try to drill into you. And shout out to all the coaches that put in so much time and effort and love into the sport to help all these athletes get here today.
Absolutely. They are an impressive breed, being out in the coach boat in the middle of what would seem like winter some mornings and the dark, and giving their instruction and their expertise. It's really impressive and commendable. Looks like lane 3, Mary Cote Marshala is in a comfortable position as we come up. 500 to go.
And then Chloe closely behind, and Ella Rose from Montreal putting a big push heading into this last 500. Really trying to set herself up for the finish. Let's see, maybe they can fight. She can fight for second. The stroke rate is increasing as they're approaching the last 250 meters, trying to give it all they have in that last little bit of the race. Emptying the tank here. Looks a little breezy on the course, but I think it calms down heading into the finish line. So we're lucky for a fairly calm day compared to the last 2 days that the rowers had to deal with a really strong winds.
Here we go, we're in the final 250.
I think Mary will win this D final. And let's see who's gonna fight for second. It'll be Chloe from Quebec. Really long strokes, driving the blade through the water. You can see Chloe here. And the athlete from Montreal in third, Ella Rose. And in fourth from Alberta, Orla. Our St. Catharines local athlete. And in 6 will be Clara.
So we've got the results. Marianne Cote-Machala from Quebec at 8:38 win. It's like the Belle Province had swept the top 3 here with Chloe Fortin second, Ella Rose Duval in third, Orla Bailey from Alberta in fourth, followed closely by Lila Lane from St. Catharines in fifth, and Clara McKernan from the Avron Laval Club in sixth.
Next up, we'll have the C final for the women's singles. And then after the C final, it will take a break for the women's singles A and B finals. Won't be until a little later this afternoon. So here's the start replay of the C final.
So let's go through the starting lineup here. In lane 1 from Kingston, Salid McDonald. And 2, Nicole Kuzak from BC. In lane 3, Sophia Inkpen from Roe, Nova Scotia. In 4, Elizabeth Najar from the Don Rowing Club. And 5, Brianna Franklin from Saskatchewan Rowing Club. And in lane 6, Kate Kulig from Roe, Nova Scotia. Again, we've got a mix here of U19, U23, seniors, so it's a bit of a cross-section here for the C final.
Looks like a tight race so far, but I believe lane 2, Nicole Cusack, is out ahead. Then we have a tight race on the right side of the screen between lanes 4, 5, and 6. Don Rowing Club in second. We're into the second half of the race now. This is where it starts to burn. You just start to second guess yourself. Why do you row? Why do you put yourself into this pain and agony? But it's all for the love of the sport and just trying to see your best self and what you can do today.
And to be on one of our broadcasts.
Yes, exactly. That's what they've been training for.
Looks a little too close to call at this stage as we just threw 1,000 meters.
I think it'll be a race between Nicole and Elizabeth from Don Rowing, lanes 2 and 4. I think they're just nudging out ahead. It's great to see a BC athlete out here making the trek all the way from the West Coast.
Do admire these rowers. There's a lot of personal and financial sacrifice they make to attend these events, and a lot of effort to find billets or however they're going to stay and network and make the week as productive and as memorable as possible.
Yeah, it's tough with Canada being such a big country, getting everyone into the same place. So in the last few years, it's been, NRCs has been in BC, whether in Burnaby, Victoria, or Duncan. So it's nice that it's made its way to the East Coast to allow more local rowers not have to travel so far. So we're entering the fourth 500 here, sorry.
Looks like lane 4, Elizabeth Najar from the Don Club has made a move.
Here are those ducks again. They're trying to get the best seat.
Oh, they're getting out of the way.
These are geese, actually.
In a few strokes, they'll be approaching the last 250 of the race. So they're going to start bringing up their stroke rate, bringing up their power. Trying to maintain long strokes through the water, keep up their efficiency. Looks like this rower in lane 4 from Dawn, it looks very calm, long strokes, very in control. It's also a nice shot of lanes 1 and 2 here. Bringing their rate up.
Final 250.
It's also hard when you're not right beside each other to know where you, like it's very deceptive even when you're in the rowing boat because the lanes are very wide, so it's hard to tell where you are. This is a tight race between Dawn and BC Rowing Club. Looks like Elizabeth's gonna take the win.
She's got enough to hang on.
Yeah, Nicole will be in second.
Well done.
Wow, great effort. You can hear all the pain that the athletes are in right when they cross the line. It's a very grueling sport, and a lot of respect going out to these athletes for competing here today. And another thing to note is that even though they finished the race here, they still have 2 kilometers to get back to the boathouse.
No free lift here.
No. Gotta work for every stroke.
Well, maybe after the race they'll appreciate going to one of our sponsors, Mr. Mike's.
Ah, yes.
Fine dining.
So that'll be a break now for the women's singles, and the ABN final will be happening on later today.
Okay, so you got the final results posted there. Elizabeth Najar from Dawn Rowing Club at 8:27. Nicole Kuzak in second. Brianna Franklin tightly contested in third. Kate Kulig just a shade out in fourth from Nova Scotia. Celine McDonald in fifth, and Sophie Inkpen from Rowe, Nova Scotia in sixth. Well done.
So next up, we have 2 para events competing at the same race time. There's only one PR3 pair, so they have opted to put them into the women's PR3 race just to give them some side-by-side racing and have that experience being on the start line.
So what we've got here, Morgan, in lane 3 from the Brock Rowing Club, we've got Mia Biancanello. In 4, we've got Abigail Derliat from St. Catharines as well. And then in lane 5, is that where we've got the pair?
Yes.
Yes, we've got Karen Burnett in bow and Danielle Main in stroke from the BC Rowing Club. It's a little bit of a different format, exciting nonetheless.
So all these athletes are PR3 rowers, and what that means is that they are able to use their legs, trunk, and arms. There's 3 different classifications for para athletes, and there's a process that they have to essentially get approved and go through a screening on which classification that they are in, because there's PR1, which is essentially arms and shoulders, and PR2, which is trunk and arms. And then, as I said earlier, PR3 is legs, trunk, and arms. So a lot of respect to these athletes being out here today. Danielle, who is the stroke of the pair, and Abigail in the single, they competed this summer at the World Championships that were held in St. Catharines. So it was great. They were able to get some world-class experience in racing and bring it out here today to show us what they got. And Abigail is also a PetroCan FACE grant recipient. So she is identified as an up-and-coming para-rower with her sights set on LA 28. So she has a promising future, and we hope to have more para-athletes competing at the LA Olympics. Also to note, Jacob Wasserman, he was our para-athlete this summer who competed in Paris. He only took up rowing fairly recently, and he placed 9th in his Paralympic debut. And I believe it is important to note that he is a Humboldt Bronco survivor.
Yeah, everybody knows the story about the tragic accident that occurred several years ago with the junior hockey team, and it's great to see a story like Jacob's. He's found new challenges in his life, and learning to excel at a totally different sport at a world-class level. Incredible. So I guess it's not a surprise the pair are out in front.
Yes, they're essentially racing against the clock here, as they're the only ones in their event for this regatta. But it's great. We need more para-athletes in the sport of rowing. It's a great sport to get involved in, and I hope that there's more pathways in the future for para-athletes to be involved in the sport of rowing.
Definitely, just to see what can be accomplished is incredible.
So, it looks like Maya from Brock is out ahead in the singles portion of this race. They're about to be approaching the last 500 now. Abigail looks like she's making a push before they hit that last 250-meter mark. A local athlete, so I'm sure she has lots of fans here cheering for her today. And that's a shot of Maya. She looks really good. Long strokes here. Approaching the red buoys. Here's the pair crossing into the last 250. It's Karen and Danielle. bringing up the rate for their last 20 strokes or so. Here's a nice close shot of the pair moving together, swinging out a bow together.
Very impressive.
You can hear the bow Karen making some calls. And she's encouraging her partner to push right to the end.
Excellent.
A great race, great showing from those two. And now we'll have the two singles, the two PR3 singles coming into the screen now. And it looks like Maya is going to take first. Oh, gotta go right to the end here. There we go. Sometimes it's deceiving when you hear the buzzer. You think it's for you, but it's obviously that one was for the other boat. But it's hard when you're crossing the last bit of the line. Your brain's all fuzzy. You can't hear straight. So when you hear the beep, you just want to stop right away. So it's great to see these two athletes fight to the end.
Excellent showing. So now we're back to the men's singles. We've got the B final that they're staging for right now. 10:56 start time. A couple minutes away from that.
4 out.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we've got a moment here just to acknowledge again those that make these events possible. Got for the province of Ontario. Corporately, the Valbruna ASW and Rankin Construction. We got the Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority. Oakley, which will be donating some sunglasses for the winner of the A finals. We've got Enterprise Rental Cars, AG Concrete, CAA, Circle P Paving, and D'Angelo Printing. So again, big shout out to all the sponsors and the other ones we've mentioned earlier. Their efforts and their generosity is greatly appreciated and required to make these events come off as they do. There's a lot of cost and investment in these types of events. So, get to the B final. Let's look at the starting lineup here. In lane 1 from the Notre Dame Rowing Club, Liam Shapland. In lane 2, Edison Luke from Montreal. In 3, Oliver Baker from Nova Scotia. In 4, Lucas Austin from the Ridley Graduate Club. In 5, Keithlin Woodhouse from the Brock Club. And in 6th, Griffin Copeland from Peterborough. And they're off to a clean start.
Men's single final age.
Just a very, very light rain, if at all.
Looks like the wind stayed pretty calm so far today as well. It's a bit hard to see so far who is out in front. Crossing the 500-meter mark now. Lots of overlap between the boats. It could be anyone's race.
A lot at stake here. We got the rankings would be 7 through 12 nationally in bragging rights. So this is definitely very significant to all these competitors in this final, this big final.
Griffith from Peterborough in lane 6, he competed in the junior men's double at the Mega Worlds that took place in St. Catharines this past August, and he placed 19th overall. So it's great to see this junior rower competing in the B final. Still a tight race. I think lane 1 has pushed his bow ball ahead, a local rower from Notre Dame. These other 4 boats look like they still have overlap towards each other, so let's see who makes the move next to really have a big push. Crossing the 1,000-meter mark now is actually lane.
Yeah, looks like lane
5 was out in front.
And Woodhouse making a move right now. See if he can break the others.
Yeah, the third 5 is where you can really make or break the race. This is where you can really differentiate yourself with a lot of mental toughness and fitness to differentiate yourself from the other rowers and get out ahead. They always say the third 5 is where the race is won or lost.
Is that right? Yeah.
Still a close race here.
Very competitive, this B final, the men's single.
That's a great race. Looks like the first, all 4 boats can be end up anywhere between first and third.
$500 to go.
Gonna bring their rate up now, make a move before they go into the last 250. At this point in the race, you're really just trying to stay relaxed. Make sure you have good posture and keeping the boat moving and not slowing it down because you're tired and you're getting heavy on the feet. So it's really important to stay composed and be controlled as you head into the last 250. These rowers look like they're really going for it. You don't want to leave anything out there, so you gotta go early. But just approaching the 250 mark now. It's still anyone's race. You can hear the fans cheering them to the line.
Here they come, 250 to go.
With this angle, it's hard to tell which boat is out in front. That's Liam in lane 1. He just looked out of the boat to see where his competitor is. Does he have to bring it up another gear?
Followed by Oliver Baker in lane 3.
Wow, this is neck and neck. Who's gonna get it?
Ethan Woodhouse in 5, and it's
Ridley Grad maybe in 2nd. Wow.
all right.
What a finish. Wow, what an exciting race. Right to the line. And you can see the excitement of the athletes there winning that final. Wow, that's great.
Not much to choose from there. That was very hotly contested race.
Wow, congrats to Keithan.
Should have the unofficial results shortly. Close up there of Lucas Austin in his Ridley grad uniform. So here we've got the results. 7:26, Keithan Woodhouse from Brock, U23. Lucas Austin, 2nd from Ridley, graduate at 7:28. Oliver Baker just behind him, about a half a second behind from Nova Scotia. Liam Shapland in 4th, Griffith Copeland in 5th, again close as can be, and Edison Luke in 6th from Montreal. Well done.
Next up, we'll have the A final for the men's singles. They're just starting to get into the starting gates. And this one will be for all the marbles. Who is going to be our national champion of the men's singles? This will be for places 1 through 6.
You got quite a star-studded field here.
Yes, coming up, we have a race full of NTC athletes, under 23 competitors at the World Championships, and this is going to be a really good race. I'm excited for this one, Ted.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. So they haven't quite got to the start gates yet.
Yes, you can see they're just starting to back it into the starting gates. Not sure what was for the delay, but sorry, you can see the athletes getting in now.
Again, this will be for the bragging rights, the men's single A final, the national champion at stake. In lane 1, we're going to have Matthew Finley from St. Catharines. In lane 2, Tarek Bean from Quebec. Lane 3, Stephen Harris from Brock. Lane 4, Ryan Clegg from Rowe, Ontario. Lane 5, Giancarlo De Pompeo from the BC. And in lane 6, Albert Harkema from Alberta.
I have confirmed with the CU.
One more athlete to get into the starting gates here. And then they'll be ready to get this race going.
So a little fun fact, Tarek Bean, he's been staying at our house this week. We had the pleasure of having Tarek stay with us, and quite a specimen. I'll tell you, we inadvertently, I guess, ran into him in 2017 at the Canadian Erg Championships, and this very impressive, large man wiped up the field. with an erg of just over 6 minutes, which is really, really impressive for his age. So it's great to see Tarek's career advance since then. He just missed qualifying for the Olympics in the men's in the men's 8. Yeah, that was the heartbreak in Lucerne, where they lost by 1/100th of a second. There you've got the starting lineup in front of you.
Lane 3 out. Stop. Lane 4 out. Stop.
So, wow, just
two
reading
in.
some of this.
Stop.
Tarek's erg is in the 540 range.
Lane 4
Yeah, he's
out.
quite the specimen.
Stop.
No wonder he ate that much. Okay, all right.
But Ryan Clegg, who is another NTC athlete that is
Lane 6 out.
lined up beside him, isn't far behind. So they're both
Stop.
physiological beasts. So it'll be interesting to see who can take the win today.
Then you've got like a Matt Finley, who was a world a U23 champion in the men's quad from 2015, and you got some pedigree from the 2019 Pan Am Games. So, boy, this race could be worth the price of admission, that's for sure. And they're off.
It'll be interesting to see the strategy in this race on how hard that they go off the start to just try to get their bow ball ahead and startle the other athletes, so you kind of get them off their game and think that you can get out to the first 5. It's a very big mental game at that point. So let's see what these athletes are going to do. Stephen Harris also competed at the Mega Worlds this past August in the lightweight men's single, and he came 13th overall. And Giancarlo also was in the lightweight men's double this summer. So there's been lots of international racing experience with this group of 6 rowers. Albert also rowed at the Henley Royal Regatta this summer, so he had international racing at one of the coolest, most amazing regattas in the world. So that's really cool that all 6 of these athletes have competed around the world for Canada, and now they're getting to show us here today what they're capable of.
So it just shows you, Morgan, the path you can take from just the initial strokes of rowing to a few years down the road, and now you've got these candidates here that have traveled and competed all over the world against the world's best, and here they are vying for the Canadian National Championship. So let's see where we are at the 500-meter mark. I think it's still
still too close to call.
Too close to call, exactly.
Yeah, so this angle, it's a little bit tricky to see who is out in front, but I think everyone's still close, everyone's in it. The water looks pretty calm and forgiving for these athletes today, so I imagine they have a pretty high stroke rate compared to the previous days with the strong headwind. So I imagine they're racing around a 34 strokes per minute here.
So it looks like the rain has basically subsided, so this should lead to a cleaner race and a fairer race for everybody to show what they've got.
As we get a more head-on view, we can see who's out ahead. Matt Finley in lane 1, he's really giving it today. He's had lots of experience in the single. He's won many Canadian Henley medals in sculling boats, and as Ted said before, he was a U23 champion in the 2015, and here in lane 5, Giancarlo looks like he's really up ahead.
Yeah, I'd say John Carlo's got the lead at the 1,000-meter mark. But again, that means there's 1,000 meters to go. So a little too early to say who's going to get those Oakley sunglasses.
Yeah, thanks to Oakley for sponsoring the regatta, and the winners get a new pair of sunglasses. The second half of the race too shows all your power and fitness, so we'll see all that winter training coming into play here, what they're able to do for us today.
This angle makes it tough to really stick your neck out and say who's leading. Other than it, I think it's, again, too close to call.
Yeah, lots of the race still to happen. But this is a big point in the race where you can start to make some moves, close on your competitors, or get out ahead and solidify your lead. It's always easier to race from ahead, but it's not impossible to come from behind.
So I'm thinking lanes 3 and 5, Morgan. Stephen Harris and Giancarlo De Pompeo are in the lead at this point. There's still so much to go.
Yeah, these both these rowers, they were lightweights this summer, and that meant that they had to weigh in at 160 pounds, and they're racing heavyweight at this regatta. So as a lightweight, you tend to learn how to row really, really well and be efficient because you're limited on your size. So it's a really close race between those two rowers out in front, and then it looks like you have Tarek, Ryan, and Matt going for third here.
So it looks like those two boats have broken away from the pack for now.
Entering the last 500 here. Looks like Albert's race has increased.
This is the time to go for it. Spoken from somebody who's never rowed.
Well, after this, you're definitely going to have to get in the boat.
I'll tell you, my learning curve is just off the charts.
Who's going to be our national champion today? About 300 meters left. You can hear the crowd yelling at them to increase their stroke rate. Want to get in as many strokes as possible. And looks like the rain is back.
Of course, why make it easy?
This can make it challenging in the finish when you're going as hard as possible, and it's that much harder to grip and hold the oar. But these rowers are all very skilled, so I'm sure it's not a problem for them. There's Stephen Harris here, the front of the screen. Let's see if you can finish it off in the last 200 meters or so here.
Rain's coming down. Won't be denied. Let's see where Giancarlo is.
Wow, it's gonna be a close race for second and third.
So it looks like this is Stephen Harris's race with about 3 strokes to go. Big finish by Giancarlo.
What a finish. All right, who's gonna get third? Wow, Albert, what a comeback.
Lane 6. He found his gear in the last 250. All right, well done. So unofficially, our national champion in the men's single, Stephen Harris.
Wow, it was first final of the day, and that was exciting. Oof.
He'll be looking good in those Oakley sunglasses. All the rowers acknowledging each other for a job well done. Maybe plan on meeting at Empty Bellies after. Their little celebration. one of our sponsors. And there we have it, the results. Stephen Harris at 7:27, nosed out Giancarlo De Pompeo. Then Albert Harkema from Alberta, followed by Ryan Clegg, Tarek Bean, and Matt Finley. Well done. Not much to choose between those 6. Congratulations, Stephen.
Next up, we have the women's B final.
Okay, so in lane 1, Julia Teixeira from Kingston, Ella Kubas from South Niagara in lane 2, Elsa Bollinger from Rowe, Ontario in lane 3, Brenna Randall from Manitoba in lane 4, Roxalana Nazar from the University of Toronto in lane 5, and Catherine Chenier-Gagnon from Montreal in lane 6.
So these athletes are in the running for 7th to 12th place. They all came through the AB semifinals yesterday, and that was some really tough racing to get into the A final. So they gave it their all yesterday. So they might have some tired legs, and we'll see who can come out in front for this B final. Elisa has a lot of world racing experience in sculling. She has a silver medal from the under 23 World Championships in the double in 2022. This past summer, she competed at the Henley Royal Regatta in the double, which, as I was saying earlier, is such a spectacle and amazing event. And Elisa has also rode with the senior team in the quad at 2023 World Championships and 2022 in the senior double as well. So I'm excited to see her race today and if she can lead the pack.
So once again, we've got some great credentials for this B final. And it will only continue to get greater as their careers continue on this path. So it looks, again, pretty close early in the race here. We've got 3 boats that are within boat length of each other or less.
Yeah, I think there's 2 races going on here. Lanes 2, 3, and 4 going for those first 3 spots, and then we have another race between lanes 1, 5, and 6. Lane 4, Brenna Randall has also competed for Canada in the past under 23 World Championships. And Catherine has competed at the FISU World Rowing Championships and raced in the single, and that was her first international event. All right, going into the last 500 now.
I'd say that's lane 4 in the lead.
Yes, I would say so. And Elisa closely behind. She's probably going to pick up her rate and not let her get any farther ahead. Let's see if she can close the gap going into the finish.
There's that rain again.
You can hear the fans. There's lots of local athletes in this race. We're entering the red buoys in a couple strokes. Last 250 to go. You can see Brenna Randall's stroke rate has increased on the left side of the screen. Sure, Lisa and Ella have another gear to go, bringing that rate up, putting lots of power down. Elisa just took a look out of her boat to see where Brenna is standing. How far does she have to go to make a move? Wow, this is close. Races 1, 2, and 3. It's hard to tell with the angle. Their last 10 to 15 strokes now.
Wow.
Going as fast as possible, putting their legs down.
Here comes lane 4. Brenna Randall maybe powering through to take this B final.
Elise is going to take second. And Ella from South Niagara in third.
Good showing. Should have the results shortly. Looks like Brenna Randall won the B final. Yes, she has a time of 8:23. Brenna Randall, followed by Elisa Bollinger at 8:26. Ella Kubas, and then Catherine Chenier Gagnon from Montreal in fourth. Roxalana Nazar from U of T fifth. Julia Teixeira from Kingston, 6th.
There were
Great race.
43 women's singles in this race. So it's a very respectable result. All these athletes in this fast race coming 7th to 12th. Now this is the women's A final. Now, this is what is going to be a barn burner. Lots of talent across these 6 athletes.
So here we go. We got Shannon Kennedy from Rowe, Ontario in lane 1. We got Shay DePava in lane 2 from Alberta. Katie Clark from BC in 3. Carissa Riley from Alberta in 4. Alize Bryan from Quebec in 5. And Emily Monroe from Nova Scotia in 6.
I know a lot of these rowers really well, a lot of NTC athletes in this event, and they are a very determined and powerhouse of a group that are excited to get Canadian sculling on the map, and their big goal is to get a boat to the LA Olympics, but not only compete there, but get a medal. These are a really tough group of girls, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for them.
So I've gotten to know Shannon. Shannon's been staying from lane 1, staying at our house this week, and she had just missed out by a second in the Olympic qualifying regatta in the quad, and she's determined to get back onto the world stage again.
And Katie Clark was her teammate in that quad, and then they went on to race at the Henley Royal Regatta in the Princess Challenge Cup, where they won the event, which was a very exciting race and a good way for them to come back and close out their summer training, or summer racing, sorry.
So traditionally, this women's A final has been owned by Carleen Zeman. So she's not in this race. I believe she's retired.
Unofficially, we don't know.
Unofficially, okay, that's fair. And so, who will wear the A final crown from this race? We'll find out shortly.
Looks like Alize is out ahead, up in first. And then Carissa just slightly behind her. She raced at the World Championships this summer in the lightweight women's single, and has had lots of previous experience racing in the under 23s and the senior level.
She also won the time trial on Friday.
Yes, yes, she did.
So we know she's got lots of horsepower.
A lot of big competitors in this race. Shay DePava also competed at Henley Royal Regatta this summer. Shout out to Shay, she was in my 4 and we won, and her and Alize both have 3 medals from Pan Am. So this is a very experienced group here, so no one's out of the race. Let's see as they cross the 250 meter mark here. who's going to take a step up and get their bow to the finish line first.
So lane 3.
Yeah, Katie Clark. It's like, and Katie Clark is up. Race between
lane 5.
Katie, Alize, and Clarissa. Who's going to win? Looks like Alize is up by half a length. Going to last few strokes. Clarissa in second. Katie Clark in third.
Alize,
Wow.
man, from Quebec, takes the gold.
And we have Shay coming in fourth. Shannon and will take fifth place. And sixth will be Emily, who competed at the Under-23 World Championships this summer.
Great showing, great race.
Wow.
Great spurt at the end.
Some fun facts for our scholars here, that Katie, who just placed third, when she isn't training, she loves to play the bagpipes or race.
And who doesn't?
Yeah, or she does some pretty intense bike races that are over 200 kilometers long that take 8 hours. So it's very impressive.
So here are the results. By a whisker, Alize, Brian at 8:09. Carissa Riley second at 8:11. Katie Clark at 8:12. Third, Shay DePaiva. Fourth, Shannon Kennedy. Fifth, and Emily Monroe sixth from Nova Scotia. Great, great A final.
Oh, it's exciting to see what those scholars will have for this next quadrennial.
Okay, so we've already started the men's lightweight single. So we've got in lane, so this is a compressed race, just 4 boats. In lane 2, we've got Dennis Ovedienko. In lane 3, Joseph Everett from South Niagara. Lane 4, Landon Foley from Alberta. And lane 5, Jonas Massis from Brock.
So for these lightweight rowers, they would have had to weigh in 2 hours before the race, coming in at 160 pounds. So it can be pretty tough to do. Come here early to the course, maybe they have to sweat down, and then once they weigh in, hydrate as much as possible, fuel in a very short time frame as they get ready for their race.
So this is the lightweight men's B final, just to be clear.
I think Dennis is up ahead by some open water here, and then it's a close race between second to fourth. Dennis is making a distinguished lead. Looks like the wind's starting to pick up too, though. A little bit of a head, maybe a bit of a crosswind here. But the rain has stopped. It's been very weird weather today where it keeps coming and going. Jonas and Landon battling it out and for second place here. Within half a boat length of each other.
So here we are at the 1,000-meter mark, and I give it right now to Dennis Ovedienko from the Don Rowing Club. But as we've said, it's a long way to go.
Long race, anything can happen.
It's that third 5 we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, it looks like the wind is adding a bit more challenge now. It's definitely a lot gustier than it was earlier today. But these rowers are handling it just fine. be approaching the last 500 shortly. This is where everyone's legs are burning. Yeah, here it is, the 750 marker to go. You have a good battle between lanes 4 and 5 here. Jonas and Landon still battling it out.
So as you said, Morgan, they have to be, what, 160 pounds
Yes.
and less?
Yes.
So we got a bit of a move being made by Jonas here with 500 to go.
Oh, he's really giving it all, making a step up here.
Really leaning into it.
Yeah, using his whole body. Rowing is one of those very unique sports because it is a whole body sport, and everything burns at the end of the race, from your toes to your hands.
All right, we're coming up on the 250 to go.
Yes, there's those red buoys.
Oh, it's getting too easy. This is getting too easy.
The athlete from Alberta, Landon, up ahead. Nice close-up shot of him for his family and friends back home.
Go Landon! Push, push, you got this! All the way to the end! All the way to the end! Push! 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 You got it! You got it! Come on!
Oh, Landon's really closed the gap. Wow, what a finish. Wow, you can hear the excitement.
Like a bow ball,
Wow.
bow ball finish. I wanted to say that all day. So we giving that one to Landon?
I believe so, and
Landon Foley from
our local rower, Joseph, closing out that B final. All right, now we have the men's lightweight A finals coming down the course. So who's going to be our lightweight men's champion?
All right, let's look at the lineup here. In lane 1 from Ottawa, Alexander Ladage. In lane 2 from Kingston, Nige Radhagasharan. Lane 3, Charles Etienne Tebet from Quebec. Lane 4 from Saskatchewan, Connor Dodds. In lane 5, Riley Watson from Brock. In lane 6 from University of Guelph, James Rourke. And they're off.
Do you hear me? Okay, so what's the plan?
So this is again the men's lightweight A final.
All right, roll it up.
Looks like all 6 boats are pretty close across here in the first 500. Settling into their rhythm now. Oh, it looks like lane 3 from Quebec has his boat out in front.
So we initially had 10 entries when the time trial started on Friday, and now we're whittling it down to see who the national lightweight champion would be.
The second 500 here, it still doesn't feel, still feels pretty easy sometimes, especially if you're a good flow and rhythm. And honestly, the second 500 is probably my favorite part of the race because you're going really fast still, and you're into a nice rhythm that you're just really dialed into. So I'm sure that's what these athletes are feeling in today. And then as they cross the 1,000-meter marker is where it gets to be a little tougher. So it looks like it's still a close race here, especially between lanes 1, 2, and 3. So it'll be Alexander, Nigel, and Etienne. Oh. Etienne up in front. We have a nice chevron here, actually. Like,
What's that? Oh, I see. Oh, nice.
where the rowers are formed the triangle.
You learn a lot in school. There we are at the 1,000-meter mark with our chevron. Still in the lead from Quebec. Charles Etienne, Tibet. But a long way to go still.
I think Riley from Brock is in, or no. Yeah, battle between Riley and Connor. Lanes 4 and 5 for second, but we'll see when we get more of a straight on angle here. Still a close race. It's gonna be a race for second and third place here. Looks like Connor from Saskatchewan has put himself into second place. And it's a race for third. But like you said, it's not over. Heading into the last 500. The rower stroke rate is increasing, power's going up. Coming up to those last 250 buoys here. When you're a rower, those are the best things to see. When you see those buoys change from yellow to red, it's one of the greatest feelings that you're almost at the end. You can bring the rate up, try to bring your power up, stay clean. So getting your blades in and out of the water and not trying to slow the boat down, even though you're going harder, to make sure that you're keeping the boat speed up and not slowing it down through throwing your weight around. So it's really important to be technical as you head into these last 250 meters, even though you are going as hard as possible, doing whatever you can to get your bow out in front. So Etienne is holding his lead, and I think he's going to take the win for the lightweight men's single Canadian champion.
Few strokes left.
Connor from Sask will take second.
Oh, look at the exhaustion. It's got to feel.
And Riley from Brock will be third. Congrats, these lightweight men. I'm sure they're excited to have a big Thanksgiving feast after that race.
Blow away through that 160.
Yes.
All right, so here are the results. Charles Etienne, Tibet, in Quebec, 7:35. First, Connor Dodds, 7:39. Second from Saskatchewan, Riley Watson from Brock. Third, Nigel Radhauskanen from Kingston. Fourth, and Alexander Ledege from Ottawa. Fifth, and James Rourke from the University of Guelph. Sixth. Well done. This is the lightweight A final.
And here you have the women's lightweight single final. Alexandra Carvello is the only one in this event, so she'll be racing against the clock. And for the women's lightweight event, similar to the men, they have to weigh in 2 hours before, and she would have had to weigh in at 130 pounds.
Do they have to weigh in each day that they race?
Yes, yes. But I believe if you race twice in a day, you still only weigh in once, but I would have to ask my lightweight friends on that, as I have never done it myself. So we'll have to ask the people who have gone through it. Alexandra is from the St. Catharines Rowing Club, so another local athlete. I'm sure she's lots of family and friends cheering her on here today. And this can be especially tough because she doesn't have the visual reference on how she's doing, essentially. She can see a stroke coach and her boat, which has your time, your split per 500 meters, and the stroke rate. But rowing is so variable with the winds and the waterway that it's hard to compare like how fast you really are going. So this is going to be a big mental challenge for Alexandra today, as she'll just be racing against the numbers on her stroke coach, how she's feeling, and trying to put the best race down, even though she has no visual to see how she's really doing. So this is going to be a good test for her. And often when in a situation like this, you're just trying to be really consistent, having really good pacing throughout the middle of the race.
Oh, she's in the Scott Anderson boat. That's our neighbor.
Great guy, great coach, an even better neighbor.
Little shout out to the neighborhood. Scott Anderson, a real gem of a person.
Scott Anderson has been a big under 23 men's coaching for the last few years and coaches at Brock. This past summer, we'll give him a big shout out because he coached the under 23 men's 8 to a 4th place finish at the World Championships, which is the best placing they've done since 2008. So that was a really big accomplishment for the men in that boat and for Scott. So congratulations to all of those guys.
Heard nothing but great things when anybody talks about Scott as a coach, and that his whole family, just incredible rowing people and great neighbors as well.
Alex is crossing the 1,000-meter line. It's a nice close-up. You can see the pain on her face. That focus, trying to drive each stroke. Weather's also turned a bit today, where it's a lot colder than what it has been this fall so far. So a lot of the athletes are wearing pants and long sleeves to try to stay warm in this weather. It's been changing a lot between rain and wind, and it's very unpredictable at this time of the year what the weather's like.
So would you change your pre-race warm-up routine?
Sometimes, yes. If the weather is really bad on the water, you'll tend to do more dry land warm-up, because that is something that you can control. You can stay warmer, and there's a lot less variables, especially if you don't want to get your boat full of rain. But at the same time, as we were talking about earlier, the boathouse and where you launch from is far away from the start line. So even if you don't want to have that long of a warm-up, you still have to row about 3.5 to 4 kilometers up to the start line.
Interesting.
So it's still a long time in the elements. But rowers are adaptable, so we're used to it.
Yeah, you guys are special creatures, that's for sure.
It's a nice close-up of Alexandra. You can really see her blades getting in the water. It's important to have long, effective stroke length.
Really is a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it's an amazing sport.
Is it too late for me to start?
Never too late. There are a lot of rowers that get into rowing later. Often some rowers don't start until university when they join a university or club. They've been athletes in previous sports, and they find their way into rowing, and it's pretty cool how quick you can pick it up. And on the other side of that, there are lots of master clubs and events to stay in the sport or get involved. And honestly, I think that's the beauty of rowing, is that you can row forever. It's a lot easier on your joints compared to something like running. So you can see a lot of people who are older still rowing out in their singles when they're 80. It's really admirable.
I'm running out of sports. I don't run either. Not like your mother does. And
Well, now's the time to start.
And I'm not ready for pickleball. So look at that rain coming down, but it's not going to bother Alexandra.
All right, Alexandra's approached the 250 buoys, bringing that stroke rate up, going as hard as possible, trying to get the best time that she can.
She is getting clobbered with the rain.
Yes. Yes, difficult conditions for sure today. But last race of the weekend for her.
Yeah.
Till everyone can go celebrate their Thanksgiving with family and have a nice big dinner. And the last 10 strokes or so now.
Well done.
Hopefully she has a time and to be proud of, and the most important thing is the feeling that you have during the race, that it felt good that you can walk away from it and have some learnings.
Look at that smile. Relief.
There's a nice shot of our umpires there. Thank you so much to them for working here at this regatta to give the rowers the best racing possible, and all the volunteers driving the boats, these volunteers on these starting gates. It's a really tough job, especially when you're out in the cold and just sitting there for hours on end. So thank you so much to our volunteers, our umpires, and everyone helping out this weekend to give these rowers the best racing opportunity that we can.
Absolutely, Morgan. It all adds up, and they are critical to fair rowing and safe rowing. So at the start line here, looks like we've got the men's pair C final. We've got two competitors here. Kieran Fitzpatrick and Marcus Muller from, not sure what this short form is, the SHWN SMUS. And they're in lane 3, and in lane 4 it'll be Jack Colson and Maxime Froschel from the Ottawa Rowing Club.
I believe that would be Shawnigan Lake Rowing Club and then St. Mike's University School. All the way from out west on Vancouver Island. They made the big trip. So
My apologies. That is inexcusable.
It's okay, it takes a local to know.
Yeah.
So they're off a 2-boat race.
Again, this is the men's pair C final.
There were 14 men's pairs in this regatta this weekend. So we had 28 athletes pushing each other and seeing what they all have to and seeing their best racing against the other best in Canada. So pairs are a really tricky boat to row in because it can be really hard with the balance with one person rowing on either side, and that's called sweeping. So you are either sweeping on starboard or port, and to steer the boat, you use your foot to turn the rudder, and that can add a lot of challenges in itself, especially when it's windy. Your foot has to be pointed a certain way, and then that can also compromise how you're taking the stroke, how you're pushing your legs down. So pairs, in my opinion, are the hardest boat to row. They take a very kind of special people. Also, another thing to note is that you're always with the same person, so you have to get along really well and know how to work together, know how to communicate. Pairs are a very, very cool but complex event.
So who calls the strategy during the race, Morgan, in a pair?
Generally the bow person, who is sitting closer to us on the screen. So they're the first person crossing the finish line. And one of the reasons for that is that the voice carries a lot easier, and the bow person can look out, see what's going on, they can give steering advice, and they'll often make the calls for the boat, because it's really important to make sure that you're on the same page. And this is a really close boat between these two, so I'm sure the bow seat is looking out, seeing where that Shawnigan Lake athlete is, and do they need to put in a move to get their boat up, or are they okay and can just stay how they are. And then the stroke person, so the person that is sitting farther away from us on the screen, they are the one setting the rhythm, the pace, and generally they are the one steering, but it depends on how the boat is set up. So the bow person could also be steering.
The rain's really coming down hard at this point. This is probably the hardest it's been. You can hear it on the roof of our covered truck here where we're nice and dry. But I'd say these two boats are bow ball to bow ball.
Yes, it's a really tight race. This is great. This is what we want at the National Rowing Championships. We want tight, close racing. This gives these athletes a lot of really good experience, and it's fun having side-by-side racing. And unfortunately, with rowing, we don't get that many chances to race, so every time we do, you really have to maximize this opportunity and really embrace it. So now it looks like the Ottawa crew is up by just a little bit of open water. They've broken away going into the second 1,000.
So it looked like Jack and Maxime have just found that little extra gear in the last 100 meters.
Yes.
But Kieran and Marcus are, I'm sure they're ready to make their move. So we were talking earlier, it's been a while since Ontario has hosted the national championships, so it's great to see it back here, and in Welland specifically, and the efforts that have gone behind putting this event on is exemplary and to be congratulated on, that's for sure.
Yes, it's a great rowing course, great rowing community. It's awesome to have it on this side of the country for the first time in quite a few years.
Because you've never rowed?
Not for NRCs, so I've only ever rowed on the West Coast. From 2018 to 2024. So sometime before that it was in Welland, but I've rowed on Welland for many other events. They always hosted great regattas in the high school, for high school racing and in the summertime.
It's a unique course because back when I used to ride a bicycle a lot, you could ride your bike. You can see up on the top of the screen there, you could follow the race pretty well right from start to finish. Or on the near side, on the neighborhood side, you can follow it provided you don't run into some angry geese that are on the pathway. But generally, it's very unique that you can really follow the whole race.
The composite crew from Vancouver Island has made a move and looks like they have closed the gap and we're out ahead for a little bit here. So with this angle, it's hard to tell who's winning, but this is a really great race going stroke for stroke. And in rowing, like every stroke matters. You can win and lose by a bow ball, even less than that. So every one of those 250 strokes or so is crucial. And it looks like the composite crew of Shawnigan Lake and St. Mike's have brought up another gear and are ahead of the Ottawa crew. And both of these crews are under 19, so they are in the high school age, and so they're part of our up-and-coming rowers for Canada.
Just another example of some great racing at a young age.
Yeah, this is an awesome experience, having a tight race all the way down the course. Their last 200 meters now. The Vancouver Island composite crew has started to really open up the race, having open water on their last 10 strokes now. So now they're thinking about just keeping it clean, getting across the finish line, not having any bad strokes.
And there you have our winners of the C final from Shawnigan Lake and St. Michael's. And again, that was Kieran Fitzpatrick and Marcus Muller.
now we have the B final for the men's pairs, so the 7th to 12th place crews.
So we'll go through the lineup here. In lane 1, we've got Drew Cricks and Lucas Celia from Kingston, Andrew Nawrocki and James Cuff from Notre Dame in lane 2, Trevor Andrews and Elijah Lopez from Brock in lane 3, Vaughn Elmers and Max Pohl from Alberta in lane 4, Elliot Leal and Kaylin Pickenhagen from Ridley in lane 5, and Ben Molnar and Sawyer Dalton from Brock in lane 6, and they're off.
So tough conditions, as you can see that rain come down.
And again, this is the men's pair B final.
Men's pair final A. Your opponent onto the course to warm up.
We can't see much right now, but once we can, we will give you an update on where we think all the boats are. But in the pair, as I was saying earlier, or if you're just tuning in for the first time, the pair is a really difficult race or difficult event to row. It's a hard boat to balance because you have to make sure that you're doing everything the same as the person ahead of you. So it takes a lot of focus, a lot of boat feel to make sure that you and your partner are moving as one to get your boat to move as fast as possible.
It must be an incredible feeling when you're in sync with your partner and you just found that extra gear.
Yes, it is really special, and sometimes it takes a long time to feel it. So when you have it, you don't take it for granted and really enjoy those strokes and that feeling of the boat just gliding off the water. And when it feels easy to work hard, I think that's a feeling that all rowers really strive to find, is the easy to work hard. It's quite the fathom.
That's well said.
And so looks like 5 boats across here. Can't say who's out in front yet. This is a close race for the B final.
Yeah, it's still early.
Too close to call.
As we saw from the last race, ground can be made up in a short period of time.
Especially in the second half of the race, that's when a lot of the placement changes happen. But right here, there's 4 boats all the way across.
As we can see through the leaves turning color here, getting what, close to the 1,000? Yep, right at the 1,000 now.
Yeah, and the Ridley College boat, they've got their bow ball out ahead by 3/4, almost a length, ahead of the Alberta Rowing Club crew.
So Leal and Pickenhagen have made their move at 1,000 meters. See if they can hang on to this.
That was always the point where most rowers always say they're like, we're gonna have a move at the 1,000, but then everyone has a move at the 1,000. So then the trick growing up was, okay, we're gonna do a move right before the 1,000 or one right after. You know, just the whole mind game part of it to try to get your competitors off and
Break them. Eh?
yeah, break them or just get ahead when they're sleeping a little bit. This is a really competitive field. All these rowers staying close and fighting for those 7th through 12th place finishes. that Ridley College crew in lane 5 are really starting to motor. You can see their stroke rate looks to be a little higher than the rest.
Always amazed how you guys can see that.
And in a pair, you have to steer with your foot, the rudder steering, so it can add a level of difficulty to make sure that you don't hit any buoys, especially when it's windy, or if you're not perfectly in time, that can affect the steering. So now that Ridley College crew has have open water now. They have a really strong second half of this race. So now it'll be a race for second and third. Who's going to take it? Another interesting thing about the rowing course is that all the lanes are standardized to have they're 13.5 meters across. So when you're looking to the other lane, it can be really hard to see what's happening on the other side, and that's why it's really advantageous to be in the middle of the course and be in lanes 3 and 4, where when you're in lane 1 and 6, it can be a lot harder to see what's happening on the other side of the course. The lanes don't look that small when you're in them because the oars are so long, but they are actually quite wide.
We're in those 250 buoys.
Has the Brock crew made a comeback? It's hard to tell with the angle. Wow. This is where the bow person is telling their stroke person to go harder and harder.
4 and 5.
Wow, it's a 3-boat race.
Looks like Ridley's gonna hang on to their lead, but just barely over Alberta and Brock. Great finish. Well, their strategy of taking the lead at 1,000 paid off, and they're able to hold enough of it to win. And here are the results. So the time was 7:33 from Ridley. Pickenhagen Leal nosed out. Elmers and Pohl from Alberta. Andrews and Lopez from Brock were third. And Molnar and Dalton again from Brock were fourth. And Noraki and Cuff from Notre Dame Rowing Club fifth. And Crix and Celia from Kingston sixth. Well contested race.
So then next up, we'll have the A final for the men's pair. So these crews will be racing to be the National Rowing Championships in the pair and to race for those Oakley sunglasses.
So let's go through the lineup here. So in lane 1 from Alberta and UWO Western, we've got Elric, Adam Grisbach and Cal Elric. In lane 2, we've got Archer La Rochelle and Angus Robertson. In lane 3, Aidan Hembruff and Sam Stewart. In lane 4, Axel Iwashko, or as his Ukrainian grandmother would say, Axel Ivashko. Shout out to her. And Stephen Ross. Oh, there's a familiar name. And in lane 5, Preston Darling and Joe Kugler, or Koffler. And in lane 6, Chris Gomez and Maddox Harrison from Brock. So they're off. Again, this is the A final for the men's pair.
So in this race, we have a lot of athletes who have competed for Canada on the world stage. In the pair of Aiden and Sam Stewart representing Rowe, Ontario. Aiden has raced for Canada for many under-23 championships, and this past summer he was in the 8 coached by Scott Anderson that came forth at Worlds. And then there's an interesting note that Sam Stewart is a teammate from the summer, Axel. They are racing together, or against each other right now, but they both raced together at the FISU University Games where they got a silver medal in the 4.
So in lane 4, we've got Axel Iwashko. He's been staying at our house this week. Got to know him. He's, I believe, he's new to the National Training Center, and recently won a silver medal in the men's 4s. Or did you just say that?
Yes.
You just said that. I should listen better. Oh my goodness. We're all excited about this race, obviously.
Yeah, we can't be too biased hyping up Steve, but Steven has lots of experience racing at the under-23 and senior level. He's actually sculled at the under-23s in a single, and he's raced on the senior level in a quad. He's went to University of Washington and has had a lot of sweeping experience there. And it looks like they have some open water now.
Here we are at the 1,000-meter mark. Again, the winners are vying for that pair of Oakley sunglasses, one of our sponsors today.
For the second half of the race now.
So a good battle between lanes 4 and 3.
It's great to see so many competitive men's pair sweep athletes. As you know, it's a new quadrennial, lots of up-and-coming athletes. A lot of these athletes have hopes to joining the National Training Center, and the men's program is now being run by Lauren Fisher. She is an amazing coach, very reputable, respectable, and I'm excited to see what she does with this men's program in the near future. So shout out to Lauren. Looks like Steven and Axel here are up by about a length. Look very in control, long strokes. They have open water on the Rowe, Ontario crew of Sam and Aiden. Sam and Aiden are actually rowing at Western together this fall, so it'll be exciting to see what they can also do at OUAs. So this is a great racing opportunity for them to prepare for their university racing.
And I believe they won the time trials on Friday.
Ah, yes.
Yes. So here we are, 500 to go.
You can hear the bowmen making calls to their stroke partner about going harder or bringing up their rate. It's hard to say much at the time at this point of the race, so you really have to make cue words with your partner and practice them, that if I say one thing, you know what that means, because you're going as hard as possible. You can't say a whole sentence or speech to tell your partner what to do. So there's a lot of practice and being good at communicating with your partner. It's a really skill to have.
250 to go.
Red buoys.
Rain continues to come down.
A few more strokes to go.
I think Row Ontario of Sam and Aiden will take the second. Now let's see what the race is for third. Here we have the NTC pair of Steven and Axel going right to the line, not letting up a stroke.
And congratulations to Stephen Ross and Axel Washko for winning the men's A pair.
All right, let's see this race for third. St. Catherine's crew of Joe Kugler and Preston Darling took the third over the pair of Kai and Adam out in lane 1.
So there'll be some celebrating at the Ross household today.
Maybe if we're lucky, you'll give us sunglasses.
Yeah, yeah, I'll get his old ones, the scratched ones. That's okay. It's a good race all the way around. Been a great week.
And now that concludes the men's pairs for this weekend.
So here are the results. Ross and Washko at first at 7:02. Stewart and Hembrough at 7:09. Koffler and Darling third from St. Catharines. Elric and Grisbach from Alberta fourth. Harrison and Gomez from Brock fifth. And Robertson and La Rochelle sixth from Alberta. Great race. Congratulations to all for making the A final.
Now this is the women's pair B final. It's crazy to think that this is our second last race of the day, so we're just about closing out. And this will be for 7th to 10th place. There's 4 boats in this race.
So in lane 2, we've got Florence Therian and Charlotte Pickenhagen. In lane 3, Alexandra Hart and Diana Davis from Alberta. Lane 4, got Trine Mammon and Monroe La Rochelle from Alberta. And in lane 5, Elena Zagotsis and Mia Lastrovka from Alberta and ERC. So they're off anyways here.
They're just crossing the 500-meter mark now. Getting into their race pace rhythm. You can hear the rain. It's been relentless the last few races now. If you're just tuning in now, the pair event is a really hard boat to row. You have to be really diligent. It takes a lot of work to row with the person in front of you and get that boat to be balanced and flying across the line.
It's amazing the way today all the crews have weathered the rain and stayed the course. Haven't seen any crabs or anything like that.
No, not yet. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx anybody with 2 races to go, but the quality of the rowing has been very impressive.
Yes, it's been a great showing this weekend. It's awesome to see all these athletes here and bring out the best.
Good sign for what we've got for the upcoming for next Olympic cycle for 2028 and beyond. 20 to 32. We got to keep looking forward. That's a sign of a good program. Not to be short-sighted, but look for the long haul.
Yeah, some of these athletes are U19 or under 23, so they could be looking at competing for Canada at the Junior Worlds or under 23 World Championships, and like you said, eventually on the senior team at the Olympics one day. So here they are crossing the 1,000-meter marker. They're making their moves through the 1K. The Alberta crew of Alexandra and Diana are out in front. There's a lot of Alberta athletes in this event, which is really cool to see.
This would look like lane 3. Seems to be getting some open water.
It looks like a close race between the following 3 boats, especially lanes 4 and 5. I'm sure a lot of these athletes train together back home in Alberta, so this is, they have lots of practice with the side-by-side racing, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun to race against their teammates and get to experience it at this level. The lane 4 Alberta crew is just up ahead of lane 5, the Alberta and maybe Edmonton Rowing Club. Unsure on it, but
call.
that's my guess.
Yeah.
But that composite crew of Alberta and Edmonton aren't giving up. They're making a push here.
Yeah, here comes lane 5.
Yeah, they're almost even. Heading into the last 5 now. Making a move to set them up for the last 250.
Get a straight on view shortly and see exactly what the gap is. Wow, that rain is
Coming down. Now, the athletes this weekend have had to deal with a lot of adverse weather. The first 2 days were really windy, which can be hard on the bodies. And then today, it's just been cold, rainy. It's tough, but lots of resilience from them. And it's great to have this opportunity of side-by-side racing, regardless of the weather. This is awesome experience and great for them to have in their back pocket and pull out for experiences later.
The crowd is cheering them on.
I can hear all the fans bringing them to the finish line, telling them to increase their rates, you have get more strokes in, close the gap. I think they'll be the Alberta crew of Diana and Alexandra to take the win, followed by their fellow teammates of Trin and Monroe in second.
An Alberta sweep.
Yes. Yeah, very impressive. Awesome to have so many athletes from across the country making the trek. It takes a lot of work to get athletes here and all the equipment. They have to bring their boats across or rent boats. A fellow teammate of mine actually helped bring these Alberta, Calgary rowing boats across the country. Shout out to Kasia Gruchella-Warszawski for helping these athletes race by helping drive the trailer across the country, which isn't an easy task.
So here we got the results. Davis and Hart from Alberta at 8:30 narrowly beat their teammates La Rochelle and Maiman by 2 seconds, and then third Lestovka and Zagotsits from Alberta as well, and then Pikenhagen and Therian from Knowlton Rowing Club. So we're down to one more
Wow,
race.
can't believe we
Last
made it.
race of the day. Hopefully we haven't lost too many viewers. But this should be an incredible finale to a great rowing championship. We got in lane 1, Julia Hill and Grace Turner from the Alberta Rowing Club. In lane 2, we got Jackie Groenwegen and Kaya Erickson from Queens. In lane 3, Kaylee Fulmer and Alexis Kronk from Row Ontario and BC. In lane 4, Piper Battersby and Cassidy Dean. In lane 5, Lucy McLeod and Martine Niehoff from Nova Scotia. And in lane 6, Georgia Skeens and Addison Bimon from Alberta. So they're off. What do you see, Morgan?
Well, this final is full of talent, Ted. You know, lots of amazing rowers in this event. Shout out to Kaylee in the pair with Lexi. She just came back from Paris, winning a silver medal in the women's 8, and in the Tokyo Olympics, she got a bronze medal. So in the pair, so she has lots of experience racing the pair. And, you know, her partner, Lexi, also raced the pair at the Henley Royal Regatta this past summer. So, you know, she also has tons of racing experience, has been on the senior team for a while now, racing in the women's 8. But then right across in the next lane over, you have Cassidy Dean and Piper. And Cassidy was one of the spares for the women's 8 for Paris this past summer, and she's been on the senior team for the past few years, competing at multiple world championships. And Piper, the same thing. She has lots of experience rowing in small boats, so I wouldn't count them out. And also, it was Piper's birthday yesterday, so I'm sure she has some extra fuel now that she's a year older. So happy belated birthday, Piper.
Absolutely. So it looks like with at the 1,000 meter mark, the pair of Kaylee and Lexi have established a lead, but not far behind in lane 4. We got Piper and Cass. So here they come.
Going through this 1,000 meter mark and that third 500 is where a lot of moves are made, and that's where the bow person is telling the stroke where they are on the course, what to do. And I have personal experience rowing with Piper. She was my bow person for the Henley Royal Regatta this past summer, and she called an amazing race, and I'm sure she's doing that right now, telling Cass what they have to do to close that gap and make this race as competitive as possible. But it's those two National Training Center boats out in front, and we'll see who can get that third place.
Just want to have a shout out during our last race to all the quality athletes that I've met this week. Some for the first time, some for not for a while, but it's been great. They're just great people. They're so driven. Their dedication, their passion, their determination is just unparalleled. And wish all the competitors the best going forward. And it's been a real treat to be part of this process. And just outstanding young people, and the future looks bright with this type of representation for Canada. But let's get back to the race. It's still Kaylee and Lexi.
Looks like just a little bit of open water ahead of Cassidy and Piper going into the last 500. They still have time to close that gap, so we'll see what kind of sprint finish they have. All four of these athletes have lots of experience racing at the international level, so it's great to see them go head-to-head at the National Rowing Championships. Looks like the rain has been nice to them and subsided for the last little bit of this racing.
250 buoys in sight here. Here they come.
Let's see what they can do.
What do they got left in the tank for the last 250?
At this point, your legs are just burning and you feel like you don't have anything left, but you're bringing the rate up, trying to maximize each stroke while you're staying calm. You hear the fan, so you know you're close to the end. Looks like Kaylee and Lexi have opened up their lead a little bit, but Piper and Cassidy are not letting up.
Great showing. Great competition.
Those are two very good pairs that we see.
Closing a bit, but
Almost had overlap by the end. What a good push.
what a great finale to a great national championship.
All right, who's gonna get the third place?
Come on now! 10 more! Go, Alberta! Go, Alberta! Right through my seat, Welland
Lane 5.
Oh, Nova Scotia, nice.
Lucy McLeod and Martine Niehoff. So we should have the final results shortly.
We have our last boat crossing the line. Alberta of Georgia and Addison.
Well done.
It's great to see all the athletes here this weekend, persevering through the weather, and all the fans listening to us all day, persevering through that.
Exactly, and it's been a real treat working with you, Morgan. I didn't know
You as well, Ted.
how much you knew about rowing and how little I know. But let's look at the results here. We got Kronk and Filmer, Lexi and Kaylee take the women's pair for 2024, followed by Piper and Cass, and then McLeod and Niehoff for the top three, then Grunwagen and Erickson from Queens fourth, Turner and Hill from Alberta fifth, and Bimone and Skeens from Alberta in sixth. So a tremendous race and a tremendous championship. So I think at this stage it's probably time to sign off. There's our sponsors. Please acknowledge them and support them in whatever way you can. They're all quality businesses and organizations, and deserve our thanks for contributing to the successful 2024 RCA championships. So with that said, Morgan, it's been a treat.
Hopefully we do this again sometime,
Yes,
right?
yeah. Well, if Elliot Friedman can do it for the Olympics, so can we, right?
Well, yeah, we hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
And safe travels wherever you came from. And yeah, hopefully we see you again next year.
Yes.
Who knows where we'll be, but.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, Ted and Morgan signing off.
Take care.
Niagara College Vault.
Niagara College programs immerse students with a highly experiential learning environment enhanced by digital technologies. We place students at the center of all that we do. We are Niagara College.